She tried to buy the disgraced Azuri operative at the slave auction, but ended up being bought by him. The lower levels of the orbital city of Veyron were choked with the scents of ozone, spilled synthale, and the ever-present hum of exposed machinery. Serena moved through the labyrinthine corridors, her every step marked by the battered armor she wore, a defiant relic of her disgraced house. Her silver-braided hair shimmered beneath the harsh strip lights, blue skin almost phosphorescent against the sallow gloom. The clang of distant machinery mingled with the mutter of rough-edged voices, a cacophony that echoed the turmoil within her. Lyra, ever the cautious voice at her shoulder, clutched Serena's arm. "We don't have to do this," she pleaded, gaze flicking from shadow to shadow. "There are other ways, safer ones. Dravos will be there. We are out of ways, Lyra." Serena's voice, low and resolute, cut through her companion's fear. "If I turn back now, there's nothing left for us but exile. This is the only path." She pressed on, ignoring the stares that followed the once noble Azuri, reduced now to a rumor and a warning. At the entrance to the Galan exchange, a pair of armored guards scanned the crowd, their ocular implants gleaming. Serena paused, steeling herself. Lyra hovered close, her anxiety palpable. Inside, the auction house was a cathedral of decadence. Black crystal columns soared upward, fracturing the sterile light into prismatic shards that played over shifting holographic banners. The galaxy's elite, alien dignitaries in gem-spun robes, corporate barons swathed in synth leather, mingled in hushed anticipation. The air throbbed with tension and the sweet, sharp scent of ambition. Serena slipped into a recessed alcove, every movement calculated to avoid attention. Her crimson eyes locked onto the dais, where the six-fingered auctioneer, a Kothari with a predator's smile, waited. His voice rolled out, smooth and oily. "Distinguished guests, welcome. Tonight, the rarest treasures of the quadrant await your discerning bids." The opening lots paraded across the stage, a shimmering ingot of quantum-forged alloy, a glimmering cage containing a phosphorescent avian engineered to sing the songs of extinct worlds, a digital key granting access to a smuggling corridor through the Velian Maw. The crowd's interest flickered, bids rising and falling in musical increments, but Serena remained motionless. These baubles meant nothing to her. Lyra whispered, "We should go. It's not too late." Serena's lips barely moved. "Soon." The room stilled as the auctioneer's voice rose above the murmurs. "And now, our rarest offering, a Terran male, captured beyond the rim, Lot 88. A spotlight carved through the gloom, and onto the dais strode Marcus. He stood tall and unbowed, sun-browned skin traced with pale scars that told of battles fought and survived. Shackles gleamed at his wrists and ankles, yet nothing in his bearing suggested surrender. His storm-blue eyes scanned the crowd, pausing, startlingly, on Serena. For a heartbeat, time stilled. In his gaze, Serena glimpsed not resignation, but defiance. And to her astonishment, a flicker of hope. The auctioneer flourished his six-fingered hand. "Opening bid, 10,000 credits." The first offers came, quick and eager. Serena forced herself to speak, her voice ringing out, 20,000. Across the room, Dravos, draped in opulent robes, responded with practiced ease. 30. 40, Serena countered, fingers digging into the last of her heirloom rings. The bidding climbed. With each call, Serena bled away more of her past, her mother's signet, the intricately filigreed locket containing her father's final message, and then, in a trembling whisper, the deed to her childhood estate. The crowd watched, hungry for spectacle. Dravos's eyes glittered with cruel delight as he matched every bid, forcing Serena to wager all she had left. 200,000, Dravos intoned, his smile tight. Serena hesitated. Lyra gripped her hand, eyes wide with panic. Serena, please, we can't. 300,000, Serena declared, her voice breaking. The room hushed. The auctioneer glanced between them, savoring the tension. Do I hear a counter? Dravos's gaze narrowed. 350,000. Serena's heart hammered. She had nothing left. Except one thing. Slowly, she unfastened the signet chain around her neck, the last key to her ship, the Azure Wind. She placed it on the bidding console. 380,000, and the Azure Wind. A collective gasp rippled through the assembly. Dravos opened his mouth to respond, but before he could speak, the main holo display flickered. The numbers scrambled. The auctioneer's voice faltered. Alarms erupted, a cacophony of shrill warnings. System failure, someone shouted. The air thickened with confusion and dread as the Galan currency crashed, streams of numbers tumbling into ruin. Accounts were erased in real time. Fortunes dissolved before the elite's horrified eyes. The auctioneer stammered, "All bids are—" A new insignia blazed across the main screen. The Terran Commerce Authority, stark and unyielding. A digital cascade of numbers unfurled, showing a vast account linked directly to Marcus's DNA. Marcus rolled his shoulders, snapping the mag restraints with a twist. He strode to the console, calm amid chaos. The crowd shrank back as agents in Authority Black stormed the floor. Marcus's voice carried, strong and clear. I bid the full account for Lot 92, the entire debt of House Azuri. The auctioneer gaped. You can't! Authority agents fanned out, restoring order with brisk efficiency. Dravos vanished into the crowd, his fortune lost in the crash. Serena stood frozen, breath shallow. Marcus approached, unshackled now, his expression softened by something gentle. Lyra stepped in front of Serena, voice trembling. Stay back. Marcus stopped, hands open. I'm not here to hurt you. I came to return what was stolen, your freedom, if you'll take it. Serena, pride stripped away, but something new rising in its place, looked at him. His hand, once bound, now reached for her, steady and warm. She hesitated only a heartbeat before taking it. His touch sent a strange thrill through her, loss and hope entwined. As he led her away from the wreckage of her old life, the clamor of the ruined auction faded behind them, replaced by the uncertain promise of what lay ahead. The private elevator opened onto a suite that was the antithesis of the auction's gaudy splendor: clean lines, soft light, and a breathtaking view of Veyron's orbital spires. Glass walls revealed the city's glittering veins and the black ocean of space beyond. Here, the air felt different, calmer, yet charged with possibility. Serena stood just past the threshold, rigid, hands clenched at her sides. The battered armor that had shielded her in the Undercity now seemed painfully out of place. Her athletic frame, always so sure, felt exposed against the suite's immaculate backdrop. Marcus was already moving with practiced ease, his broad shoulders cutting a silhouette against the city's distant lights. He crossed to a lacquered cabinet and produced a crystalline decanter, pouring 2 glasses of amber liquid. He turned, holding one out to her. She hesitated, distrust flickering in her crimson eyes. I don't drink with strangers, she said. His expression softened, just enough to be disarming. Then let's not be strangers. He stepped closer, the glass held steady. It's a small gesture, no obligation. Serena's pride flared, but the warmth of his voice, the steady confidence in his stance, eroded her defenses. She reached out at last. Their fingers brushed, a brief, electric contact that sent a jolt through her, vivid and unexpected. She took the glass, and he offered a faint, appreciative smile. To new circumstances, Marcus said. She managed a brittle reply. And to surviving them. They drank in silence, the amber liquid burning a path down her throat and loosening the knot in her chest. Marcus set his glass aside, then leaned against the counter, arms folded, gaze intent. "I owe you an explanation," he began. "You came to rescue a Terran. Instead, you bought the architect of your own undoing." Serena's jaw tightened. "Meaning what, exactly?" He didn't flinch. "My name is Marcus, Senior Operative, Division of Strategic Assets, Terran Commerce Authority." He let the words settle, watching her reaction. She stared at him, stunned. Your TCA? The Galen Exchange?" "Was compromised months ago," Marcus finished. "We mapped every transaction, every player." Tonight was the final phase. Everything collapsed by design. Serena turned away, pacing to the window, breath shallow. "So I fought for scraps while you pulled the strings." Her voice trembled with equal parts fury and disbelief. "I risked everything for a chance at redemption, and you—" He interrupted, gentle but firm. "You acted with courage. Your loyalty is not a weakness." He let the silence stretch, the only sound the distant hum of orbital traffic. She spun to face him. "And my family's debt?" He nodded once. "It's mine to command now. The authority holds it. Through me." His tone shifted, businesslike but not unkind. "Sit, please." She obeyed, perching on the edge of a low-backed chair, every muscle taut as a wire. Marcus took the seat across from her, setting a tablet on the table between them. "I want to be clear," he said. "You are not my prisoner, but your family's fate is now tied to my mission. There are Galan enforcers still in play, dangerous, desperate. I need someone who understands Veyron's underworld better than any dossier." Her defiance sparked again. "And if I refuse?" Marcus's voice remained calm, though a steel thread ran beneath it. "Then the authority calls in the debt. Your family loses everything. I am not here to punish you, Serena, but I cannot allow the Galan to regroup." She studied him, searching for any trace of cruelty, finding only resolve. His gaze held hers, unwavering. A long moment passed, heavy with unspoken challenges. Then Marcus activated the tablet, holographic files springing to life between them, faces, names, encrypted data. The dossiers of the Galan's surviving leadership, now fugitives in the city's shadows. He pushed the display toward her. "I know how they operate on paper. You know how they bleed. Tell me where they'll run." Serena's pride warred with pragmatism. She recognized some faces, cutthroats she'd bartered with, rivals who would never forgive her lineage's fall. She traced a finger along the glowing interface. "Zealith won't stay in orbit. He has a fallback near the mining docks, uses a false identity, but always visits the same quartermaster." Marcus nodded, making a note. "Good. And the others?" She hesitated, then offered more. With each detail, the partnership shifted. No longer captor and captive, but two professionals circling the same objective. Their conversation grew faster, sharper, an exchange of intelligence layered with something deeper. Marcus regarded her with quiet admiration. "Your instincts are impressive. No wonder the Galan feared your house." Serena couldn't keep the bitterness from her smile. "They don't fear us anymore." "They will," he said, "with the right moves." The air between them thickened with a tension that was no longer purely adversarial. Serena's eyes lingered on Marcus's hands, steady, precise, yet somehow gentle. He slid the dossiers aside. "You claimed to be a fighter," he said, voice lower. "Prove it." She arched a brow. "You want to test me? I need to know I can trust you, in the field." Serena stood, unbuckling her battered breastplate and letting it fall with a dull thud. Marcus watched, a flicker of amusement ghosting across his features. The suite's living space became an impromptu arena. They circled each other, movements wary and deliberate. Serena struck first, fast, sharp, her training evident in every feint and pivot. Marcus met her with a style she'd never encountered, efficient, unpredictable, flowing between offense and defense with uncanny speed. She ducked a blow, swept his legs, but he twisted free, countering with a hold that nearly toppled her. Breathless, she spun, landed a glancing hit to his ribs, and felt a surge of triumph, immediately dashed as he seized her wrist. In that moment, the world narrowed to the heat of his skin against hers. He held her steady, not with brute force, but an unyielding control that spoke of years in the field. His thumb traced the line of her pulse, sending a shiver racing up her arm. They stood locked together, breathing hard. The contact was intimate, too intimate. Serena felt her composure slipping, the ache of old wounds giving way to a new, unfamiliar vulnerability. Marcus's eyes searched hers. "You're strong," he murmured, "but you're holding back." She tried to tug free, but his grip remained, paradoxically gentle. "You think you know me?" "I know what it's like to fight with nothing left to lose," he said. "But I see more in you than desperation." Her cheeks flushed, and for the first time in years, Serena felt exposed. Not by the loss of her family's name, but by something raw and immediate, written in the closeness of this unexpected alliance. She met his gaze, defiant. "You want my loyalty? Then earn it." A smile flickered at the edge of his mouth, half challenge, half promise. "That's exactly what I intend to do." They broke apart, but the space between them remained charged, no longer just rivals or partners, but something more complicated. Serena steadied her breath, aware that her future had shifted again, no longer dictated solely by debt or disgrace, but by the possibility of forging her own path alongside a man who saw through the armor she wore. Their first lead took them into Veyron's labyrinthine underbelly, a tangled sprawl where ancient ducts dripped condensation onto market awnings and rusted bulkheads loomed over crowded lanes. The air was thick with steam, the scents of frying spiceweed and engine oil, and the low, nervous chatter of the city's forgotten. Serena moved at the front, weaving through the stalls with the unerring confidence of one who had survived these depths. She glanced back at Marcus, who matched her stride with silent vigilance. He had abandoned the outsider's stiffness, letting her set the rhythm, trusting her instincts over his own technology. "Keep close," she murmured, scanning the crowd. "We're almost at the den." "Lead the way," Marcus replied, eyes flicking over every shadow, every figure that lingered a moment too long. "I'm right behind you." Vendors hawked contraband tech, exotic pets, and food that glimmered with suspicious additives. Children darted between steam vents, their laughter edged with wariness. Serena's presence drew a few glances. Her blue skin and battered armor marked her as neither predator nor prey, but something in between. They passed beneath a neon sign sputtering in 3 languages. Serena stopped at a narrow doorway, half concealed by hanging wires and a faded curtain. She tilted her head, listening. "He's in there. Galen's second, Roth. He never leaves without backup." Marcus's voice was quiet, calculated. "You trust your source?" She shot him a wry look. "I trust my instincts, and right now, they're screaming caution." He nodded, hand drifting to the compact weapon at his hip. "We go together." They slipped inside. The den was a cramped chamber, lit by a single flickering hololamp. Stale air reeked of synth smoke. 3 figures lounged around a makeshift card table, weapons within easy reach. Roth, a barrel-chested man with silver implants along his jaw, grinned as they entered. "Azuri's whelp," Roth sneered, "and her pet Terran. Bold of you to come here." Serena kept her expression neutral. "You've been busy since the collapse, Roth. The authority wants a word," he laughed, teeth flashing. "Teeth. The only thing you're leaving with is regret." Too late, Serena saw the movement. A signal. The back wall slid aside, revealing 2 more Galen enforcers, blasters drawn. "Down!" Marcus barked, grabbing her arm and pulling her behind a toppled crate as energy bolts seared through the space where they'd stood. The room exploded into chaos. Marcus and Serena moved as one, her movements fast, darting, using the clutter as cover, while he advanced with precise surgical efficiency. An enforcer lunged, Serena ducked under the swipe, slammed an elbow into his ribs, and twisted the weapon from his grip. Marcus pinned another to the wall, disarming him with practiced ease. "On your left," Serena called, parrying a blade with the flat of her forearm. The weapon nicked her skin, drawing a thin line of blood that shimmered darkly against her blue flesh. She hissed, but didn't falter, driving her knee into her attacker's gut. Marcus saw the wound, his focus hardening. He blocked a blaster shot with a metal tray, then shoved Serena behind cover. "You're bleeding." She ignored him, breathless. "We finish this first." Back to back, they fought through the remaining enforcers. Serena's agility a blur of movement, Marcus's strikes economical and lethal. The den was soon littered with groaning bodies, the air thick with the scent of ozone and fear. Roth staggered to his feet, bloodied but defiant. "You think this changes anything?" "Galen has more where I came from." Serena pressed the edge of her borrowed blade to his throat. "Your syndicate is finished. Tell your bosses. The authority is coming." Marcus retrieved a data chip from the table, sliding it into his pocket. "Let's move." They exited through a back corridor, adrenaline still surging. The city swallowed them in its noise and shadow, the threat lingering like a promise. Back in the suite, the world contracted to the hush of clean air and the hum of distant city lights. The adrenaline faded, leaving behind the ache of bruises and the sharp sting in Serena's arm. Marcus took command, guiding her to the sofa, voice gentle but insistent. "Sit, let me see it." She tried to wave him off. "It's nothing, I've had worse." He knelt before her, producing a medkit from a hidden drawer. "Humor me." He cleaned the wound with a practiced touch, hands steady as he applied a sealant. His fingers lingered a moment too long, the contact sending a ripple of awareness through her. Serena studied his face. Close now, the lines of old wounds crossing his cheek and jaw, half hidden by stubble. She reached out, tracing a scar near his temple. "This one. How did you get it?" Marcus's eyes flickered with memory. "First assignment. Smuggling ring on Daction Prime. Thought I could reason with a desperate man. Learned otherwise." He smiled, wry and self-deprecating. "Authority training covers a lot, but not stupidity." She laughed softly, surprised at the warmth in her own voice. "We all learn the hard way." Her gaze dropped to the jagged mark on her own forearm, a relic of her induction into the Azuri defense cadre, earned in a trial by fire and loss. Marcus caught her gesture. "That looks like it hurt." Serena nodded. "It did. They made us prove ourselves, no matter the cost. I lost friends. I lost who I was, for a while." He pressed a sterile patch to her wound, voice low and sincere. "But you survived. That takes more than training." She looked away, swallowing hard. "Surviving isn't the same as living." Marcus's hand paused on her arm, gentle. "Maybe not. But it's the first step." His thumb brushed her skin, careful not to reopen the wound. "We both have scars, inside and out. You're not alone in that." A fragile silence fell, intimate and heavy. Serena found herself drawn to him, not just the strength of his hands or the steadiness in his eyes, but the vulnerability beneath his mask. He was more than the authorities' weapon. He was a man shaped by loss, by choices that had cost him as dearly as hers had cost her. She took a shaky breath. "Do you ever wish you could forget?" Marcus shook his head. "No. Our scars remind us of what we've survived, and what we still have to fight for." Serena met his gaze, finding comfort in the truth of his words. For the first time, she let her guard slip, just a little. "I never thought I'd trust someone from the authority." His smile was small, genuine. "I never thought I'd find an ally in Veyron's underbelly. Life's full of surprises." She allowed herself a faint smile in return. the tension between them easing into something softer, a recognition of pain shared and of hope tentatively growing. Marcus finished bandaging her arm, his hands lingering a moment longer than necessary. "You'll be all right," he said. "We both will." In that quiet, between confession and healing, a fragile trust formed, a bridge across the gulf between their worlds. For a moment, the city's chaos faded, and Serena allowed herself to believe that, together, they might find a way through the darkness. Victory over the Galan lieutenant came at a price. Word of Roth's defeat spread through Veyron's underbelly with the speed of whispered rumor. The Galan's grip had shattered, but power vacuums never stayed empty for long. Dravos, wounded in pride and pocket, wasted no time. He unleashed the only currency he had left: hired blades. Their reprisal would be swift, merciless, and as much about spectacle as retribution. The attack came in the dead of night. Serena woke first, a faint hiss, then the metallic click of the suite's security overrides failing, threads of red light slithering across the ceiling. She reached for the blaster beneath her pillow, heart thudding as the suite's environmental hum died. In the hush, Marcus was already moving, silent as a shadow. He pressed a finger to his lips, eyes sharp, every muscle coiled. "Hide," he mouthed. She hesitated, pride warring with sense, but in the space of a heartbeat, she slid behind the built-in credenza, wedging herself among spare blankets and an old maintenance drone. The door exploded inward. 3 armored intruders swept inside, visors shining with ghostly blue light. Their weapons were drawn, movements coordinated, mercenaries, not common thugs. They fanned out, covering corners and doorways, methodical and silent. Marcus disappeared into the gloom, melting behind a pillar, just as one of the assassins swept a beam across the room. The mercenaries advanced, boots silent on the plush carpet. Their leader, taller than the rest, signaled with 2 fingers: "Search, but leave nothing standing." Marcus struck first. He moved like a phantom, appearing behind the nearest mercenary and disabling him with a vicious blow to the base of the skull. The body hit the floor with a muffled thud. Marcus vanished again, using the darkness and chaos as his allies. A second intruder spun, firing a bolt that scorched the wall centimeters from Serena's hiding place. She didn't wait. Adrenaline roaring, she seized a heavy chair and surged from cover, swinging it in a wide arc. The chair smashed into the attacker's arm, sending the blaster spinning. She pressed the assault, slamming the edge into the mercenary's ribs, but numbers told. The leader lunged, pinning her with brutal efficiency. The world turned sideways as she was thrown to the floor, breath punched from her lungs, a knee crushing her spine. A blaster pressed to her temple, cold, merciless. "Drop it, Terran," the assassin snarled, voice distorted by a vocoder. "Or she dies." Marcus emerged, weapon in hand, eyes wild with fury and something deeper. His grip whitened on the blaster. For a moment, time hung suspended. Serena trapped, Marcus caught between instinct and strategy. She saw a storm of emotion flicker in his gaze, rage, fear, and an aching protectiveness that shocked her. He let his weapon fall, raising empty hands. "Let her go. This is between you and me." The leader grinned, pressing the blaster harder into Serena's skull. "Dravos sends his regards. Funny, for all your authority training, you make such a poor hero." Marcus's answer was a low growl. "You'll regret this." The assassin laughed, gun hand wavering just a fraction as he turned to gloat at his partner. That was all Marcus needed. In a blur, he lunged, twisting the leader's arm and slamming his palm into the mercenary's throat. The blaster fired, scorching the floor inches from Serena's head. Chaos erupted. Serena twisted, driving her elbow into the leader's ribs. Marcus dispatched the third attacker with a rapid combination, 2 blows to the neck, a sweep that left the mercenary gasping on the carpet. The leader, off balance, tried to wrench Serena upright. She threw her weight sideways, rolling free just as Marcus closed in, seizing the assassin's wrist and bending it back until the weapon clattered to the floor. The leader snarled, lashing out, but Marcus was faster, slamming him against the wall until his armored body slumped. Suddenly, it was over. The suite rang with heavy breathing, the faint whine of scorched electronics, the silence of violence spent. Serena lay trembling, stunned by the intensity of the assault. Marcus was beside her in an instant, dropping to his knees. His hands cradled her face, thumbs brushing her cheeks, searching for injury. His gaze burned with concern, protective, desperate, and threaded with something raw and unspoken. "Are you hurt?" he demanded, voice rough. She shook her head, unable to find words. I'm all right. Just shaken." He helped her sit, one arm bracing her back. "You fought well. You always do." Serena tried to steady her breath, fingers curling around his wrist. "You shouldn't have surrendered. They would have killed us both." His expression was fierce, unyielding. "I couldn't let them hurt you." In that heartbeat, the air between them shifted. No longer just obligation or alliance, but something forged in crisis, an understanding that ran deeper than strategy or shared enemies. Serena saw it in the way Marcus's hands lingered on her face, the way his thumb traced the line of her jaw, gentle in a way he never was in battle. She let out a shaky laugh, half relief, half disbelief. "So much for authority protocols." He smiled, a rare softness lighting his features. "Some things matter more." She looked up at him, seeing not just the operative but the man, fierce, loyal, and for a moment utterly vulnerable. The suite, once a gilded cage, now felt transformed, a place of safety, a haven alive with possibility. Around them, the mercenaries lay unconscious, the threat past. Marcus helped Serena to her feet, keeping one arm around her until her legs steadied. For a moment, they simply stood together, drawing comfort from the nearness, the silence charged with unspoken words. Outside, the city still pulsed with danger. But inside, the walls of the suite sheltered something precious, a fragile trust, a connection no longer dictated by debt or desperation, but by the fierce loyalty forged in the crucible of survival. With the Gollans' network shattered and the mercenaries defeated, Marcus's mission neared its end. He glanced at Serena, the beginnings of a smile tugging at his mouth. She met his gaze, the fear and adrenaline fading, replaced by something quieter, richer, a promise that whatever came next, they would face it together. The suite, once a prison, now felt like a haven, alive with unspoken feelings, and the hope of a future neither had dared imagine. Only the matter of the debt remained. The suite, silent in the aftermath of battle and confession, was awash in the subtle blue glow of city lights. Marcus stood before the console, its sleek surface gleaming under his hands. The contract hovered in the air, lines of code and law that had bound Serena's fate for so long. The sum was displayed in cold, impersonal script, the full measure of the Azuri family's obligations, accumulated over generations and compounded by recent disgrace. Marcus tapped a command, bringing up the final clause. He stepped aside, offering her the control device, a small silver sphere. "It's over," he said quietly. "You have the power now. Erase the debt. Walk away free." His voice was gentle, but it echoed with finality. For the first time, Serena saw not the authority operative, nor the man forged in conflict, but someone waiting, uncertain. He had always been a force of will and purpose, but now he was still, almost vulnerable. Serena stared at the console, the words flickering in front of her. One touch, one command, and it would all be gone. The debt, the obligation, the reason she had risked everything. Yet as her hand hovered over the sphere, she felt the true weight of her freedom. It was more than a number. It was a choice that would define not just her family's legacy, but her own future. Her pulse thundered in her ears. To delete the debt was to end the story that had begun in chains and sacrifice. It was to close the door on the strange, fragile bond that had grown between her and Marcus, born of necessity, tempered by danger, deepened by trust. He watched her, unreadable, arms folded across his chest, as though to keep himself from reaching for her. The silence stretched, thick with things neither dared to say. She turned the control over in her palm, its surface cool and impossibly light. "If I do this, if I erase it, we're done," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You'll finish your mission. Go back to the authority. I'll go back to being a Zuri, alone." Marcus's jaw tightened. He looked away, voice low. "That's what we both fought for, isn't it? Your freedom." "Freedom," she echoed, the words suddenly hollow. She glanced at him, searching his face for something: regret, hope, fear. She found them all, flickering beneath the practiced stoicism. She could feel the past pressing on her shoulders, her mother's cold pride, her father's dreams, the unyielding weight of duty. She thought of the long nights on the run, the sting of exile, the taste of loss. She thought of Marcus, standing by her side in the underbelly of Veyron, fighting not for the authority but for her. She remembered his hands, gentle on her wounds, his eyes soft in the aftermath of violence. A strange calm washed over her. She understood with startling clarity that freedom meant nothing if it was only escape. She wanted something more, something she could choose for herself. With steady hands, Serena tapped the final command. The contract's code shimmered, then resolved to a single word: settled. It was a technicality, a bureaucratic sleight of hand, but it was also a declaration. She had not chosen to run. She had chosen to close the book on the debt, and to write a new story. She set the control aside, the act quiet but irrevocable. The console's glow faded, leaving only the ambient light of the city and the hush of their breathing. Marcus straightened, 1,000 questions flickering across his face. "Serena." She turned to him, heart pounding, the weight of her decision crashing through her like a tidal wave. Words felt useless. She simply looked at him, letting her eyes say everything. Gratitude for his faith, longing for his presence, the ache of possibility where once there had only been necessity. He crossed the room in 3 strides, his movements hesitant, as if still afraid he might break the spell. He lifted his hands, framing her face, his touch impossibly gentle. His thumbs brushed her cheeks, chasing away the last shadows of doubt. "Serena," he whispered, her name thick with emotion. "You're free. You can do anything now. Go anywhere." She closed the distance, hands rising to rest on his chest, feeling the steady, solid beat of his heart. "I know," she said softly, "but I don't want to go anywhere you're not." He caught his breath, the confession lighting his eyes with hope and wonder. "You mean that?" She nodded, tears threatening, but her smile was fierce. "I mean it. I choose this. I choose you." For a moment, neither moved. The city spun on outside, but here, in this small sanctuary carved from chaos, the world had narrowed to 2 people and the bond that no contract could define. Marcus leaned in, his lips brushing hers, tentative at first. A question, an offering. She answered, deepening the kiss, arms winding around his neck. There was no desperation now, no lingering debt, just the sweet certainty of belonging, of 2 lives entwined not by obligation, but by choice. He pulled her closer, mouth moving to her temple, her brow, her lips again, reverent. "No more debts," he murmured. "No more authority. Just us." She laughed, breathless and radiant, her hands splayed against his back. "Just us." They stood entwined in the suite's gentle twilight, the console's glow fading behind them. The contract dissolved into memory. Whatever future awaited, on Veyron or beyond the stars, it would be theirs to shape, together. They kissed, not as debtor and creditor, but as equals. The contract was gone, but the bond remained, chosen, not enforced. Serena and Marcus stood together at the suite's window, the swirling nebula beyond Veyron casting blue and gold light across their faces. The city's high towers cut dark lines against the glow, the glass humming with distant vibrations. No longer bound by debt or threat, they breathed in the hush that followed chaos, a hush filled with the possibility of what might come next. For a long moment, neither spoke. The nebula's shifting colors painted Serena's blue skin with fire and starlight, gilding the silver braid that fell over her shoulder. Marcus's arm rested lightly around her waist, his stance relaxed but attentive, as if waiting for the universe to deliver its next secret. Together they watched the slow drift of ships in the orbital lanes, silent witnesses to a city remade by their choices. Below, Veyron still reeled. News feeds flickered across the windows of distant towers, frantic with rumors. The collapse of the Gallon Syndicate, the Terran Commerce Authority's sudden surgical intervention, fortunes erased in a moment, alliances shattered. Somewhere in the city's heart, Serena's family gathered, their honor restored. Not by the desperate gamble she had risked at the infamous auction, but by the partnership she had forged in adversity and trust. She turned from the window, smile curving her lips. "You know, Marcus, we could have left things much simpler. You with your mission, me with my debts. But you had to complicate everything." He grinned, reaching for a duffel that waited near the door. "I seem to remember you being the one who started bidding for a Terran operative in front of half the galaxy's criminals." Serena rolled her eyes, moving past him to collect her things. A lesser man would have let himself be bought without such a dramatic rescue, or at least waited until the currency stabilized. "I like to keep things interesting." He tossed her a data chip, which she caught in one smooth motion. "Besides, you were the only bidder worth the trouble." She arched an eyebrow. "Flattery, Marcus? After all we've survived, you think that's going to work?" He shrugged, feigning innocence. "It's always worked on you before." Their laughter rang through the suite, bright and unguarded, dissolving the last ghosts of obligation. They moved through the space in easy synchrony, Serena folding garments with brisk efficiency, Marcus scanning through encrypted files on his handheld, deleting the last traces of authority protocol from the room's network. Every so often, their hands brushed, a touch at the elbow, a shared look, a silent language that needed no translation. As she zipped her pack, Serena cast a glance at the city below. "My family's safe now," she murmured. "They don't even know what really happened. They'll write songs about the collapse, but not about what it cost." Marcus leaned against the wall, studying her. "Would you want them to know?" She considered, lips pursed in thought. "Not the details, but maybe that redemption isn't always what you expect. That sometimes you save yourself by saving someone else." He smiled, a rare openness in his eyes. "And sometimes you find yourself in the process." Serena's gaze softened. "That sounds dangerously close to wisdom, Terran." He offered a mock bow. "I learn from the best, Azuri." The banter continued as they finished packing, Serena mocking his savior complex, Marcus countering with sly remarks about her legendary stubbornness. The tension that had once marked every exchange was gone, replaced by the comfort of trust and the thrill of the unknown. When everything was ready, they poured 2 glasses of deep amber liquor, an indulgence saved for this moment. They stood side by side at the viewport, the suite's lights dimmed to let the nebula's brilliance fill the room. The silence between them was full of promise, heavy with all that had been unspoken. Marcus turned to her, his features lit from below by starlight. "What comes next?" he asked quietly, the question as vast as the cosmos outside. Serena looked at him, crimson eyes shining with conviction and mischief. Now we see what we can build, together. Her words hung in the air, bold and bright, a challenge, a vow. He reached for her hand, threading their fingers. The gesture was simple, yet it carried the weight of every battle, every moment of fear and hope they had shared. Wherever we go, he said, we go as equals. No more debts, no more authority, just us. She squeezed his hand, her smile fierce. Just us, and the stars. They finished their drinks, savoring the warmth that lingered on their tongues and in their chests. As Marcus set the empty glasses aside, Serena leaned into him, resting her head against his shoulder. They stood that way for a while, letting the future unfold in their minds, full of planets yet unseen, dangers yet faced, and joys yet discovered. At last, Serena straightened, her resolve clear. Ready? He nodded, shouldering his bag and offering his arm with playful formality. After you, partner. She accepted, and together they crossed the suite's threshold, leaving behind the echo of old wounds and ancient debts. The lift doors slid open, and as they stepped inside, Serena glanced back one last time. The room was empty now, except for the imprint of their laughter and the memory of a bond that had turned obligation into love. As the lift carried them away, Serena felt a freedom deeper than she had ever known. It was not just the absence of chains, but the presence of choice, the certainty that whatever awaited them among the stars, they would face it side by side. Not as debtor and collector, but as equals, as lovers, as partners. Their future was unwritten, but their bond was indelible, a debt paid and something entirely new begun. Our story ends here. Make sure you subscribe, press the like button, and tell us in the comments what stood out to you the most in this video. Your feedback means a lot to our team. You'll discover many more captivating stories on our channel. See you in the next one.